Good afternoon, alumni, cadets and students, faculty, staff, and friends of the Corps. My name is Major General Retired Bud Thrasher, class of 1972, and chairman of the UNG Corps Advisory Council. On behalf of members of the Council, it is my privilege to welcome you to our annual Georgia Gold American Treasure Luncheon, especially modified for the unusual circumstances we are experiencing this year. You're about to see and hear three impactful messages from some of UNG's best, as presented live at last year's luncheon. Cadet Sergeant Major Derek Whitmore, class of 2021, speaks in appreciation as a recipient of the Kevin Jenrette Memorial Scholarship. Colonel John Thompson, class of 1987, and a Corps Advisory Council member, shares his personal family ties with North Georgia and how good things in his life can be traced back to our alma mater. And to close, Captain Hank Brady, class of 2012, will bring a smile to your face as he tells his North Georgia story, a story of sacrifice, spirit, and friendship. It is clear to all of us on the Corps Advisory Council that challenges lie ahead. When the Corps marches onto the William J. Lindsay Field again, we will be there in support. It is our hope that you will join with us. The circumstances that surround us today are beyond our control, but let the situation at hand remind cadets and other students who aspire to lead that we operate in a complex and rapidly changing world, an environment that requires courage, flexibility, and adaptive skills to win, and we will win. Thank you again for joining us here today, and please remember the Corps, truth and wisdom.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, distinguished guests, generous donors. As he said, my name is Cadet Derek Whitmore. I'd like to thank you all for letting me speak to you today. I'm currently, like he said, end of this week going to be finishing my sophomore year here at the University of North Georgia, and I'm honored to be this year's recipient of the Major Jenrette 2019 Memorial Scholarship. I'm sure that there's plenty of people that knew Major Jenrette, but he was a decorated alumnus. He graduated the institution in 1995 and commissioned active duty into the infantry. He graduated I-Bullet, graduated Ranger School, deployed overseas, and he ultimately laid down his life for our country on June 4th, 2004, near Kapisa, Afghanistan. From everybody that I've gotten to speak to about Major Jenrette, everybody says that he was a soldier. He led from the front and he took care of his troops. But coming from me, what does that mean to me? Well, I can relate to Major Jenrette in a few different ways. He toured school the senior year, just like I did, and he was hooked on the military structure and the tradition that the institution holds. He applied himself while here by joining and eventually becoming the executive officer of the aggressor platoon. While I'm not in the aggressor platoon, I am able to train with the Mount Order Colombo. I'm a member of Scout and Blade Military Honor Society and a member of the Sandhurst Ranger Challenge team. Major Jenrette was also the commander of Delta Company his senior year, and I get the honor to take responsibility in the fall as Delta's first sergeant, so that's also a similarity. Major Jenrette is proof that seeking leadership while here at the school transfers into success within the Army. I want to branch infantry. I want to go to Ranger School, both of those things that he obviously did. I want to do my part and continue to serve my country, which he so willingly did. I'd like to thank him for being such a role model to myself and all the other cadets that are out here pursuing a better version of themselves. And his Memorial Scholarship gives me the freedom to do that. It gives me the freedom to focus on my leadership development and my training while at the school because I don't have to work a job during the semester. It lets me put my entire efforts into my academics and bettering myself and others. I can speak for the entire scholarship awardee community when I say that they make the world of a difference, both this year and in years prior. Just like the people that are remembered by the scholarships that are given. I'd like to thank everyone that contributes to the scholarships the school gives. I'd like to thank those actively training and mentoring me. And most of all, I would like to thank Major Jenrette for giving me someone to strive to resemble both now and in the future. I believe we can all learn something from his legacy as he left impossible shoes to fill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about not so much why I give, but why I give back. I give back to an institution, more specifically a unique organization called the Corps Cadets, because almost everything good that has happened in my life can be retraced back here to North Georgia College, University of North Georgia, and the Corps Cadets. Old habits hard to break, I'm sorry. My parents graduated from here from 1962, so obviously if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be standing here. And although I never had the opportunity to meet Dad, who graduated here in 1962, and we lost him in Vietnam in 1967, a defining moment in my life occurred during my senior year in high school when I was deciding where to go to college. My mom handed me a letter that Dad had written me on my second birthday. And in that letter, it laid out a father's expectations of a son. Not in a prescriptive way, but in a way that whatever occupation that son chose would contribute to the betterment of a society and this great American spirit experiment called the American way of life. So North Georgia, specifically the Corps Cadets, took somewhat of a rambunctious teenager and instilled a sense of direction, leadership, respect, and understanding that when in charge, take charge, with an added understanding that often you're not the most smartest person in the room. So you should listen more than you should speak, surround yourself with smarter people, and take care of them. Well, I found someone at North Georgia who's taken care of me for the last 31 years. My wife, Lachelle, who very willingly stood me up this afternoon for lunch here to go to lunch with one of her good friends up here in Dahlonega on her 51st birthday. After all that I put her through for the last 30 years, she deserves her lunch with her good friend. The Corps also gave me lifelong friends. And the bottom picture you see up there is one of me and a fellow by the name of Kent Davis. Kent and I first met each other on March 14th, 1965, when we were both born at Fort Rucker, Alabama, while our dads were stationed there. I'm 3 minutes older than Kent. I was 2 weeks early and he was 2 weeks late. So I've got that up on him. Our fathers, Bo and Banjo, were best friends at North Georgia. Went to flight school together, and each other's one request that if something happened to them in Vietnam, the other would bring the other friend home. Excuse me. So it was only fitting that Banjo would commission me and Kent on 30 May 1987 and retire me on 1 June 2017. So you can see my attachments to North Georgia and the Corps Cadets are both personal and a little emotional. And there are many more stories like mine out there in the audience. And there are many more in the making. My hope is that those stories will move you to give back however you can. God bless.
Dr. Jacobs, Colonel Palmer, distinguished guests, I'd like to thank you all for being here for the naming ceremony of the Captain Hank Brady Dining Facility. What an honor to have the name. It was worth a shot. Thank you for being here for the naming ceremony of the Captain Hank Brady Pine Valley Porta Potties. What an honor to be the namesake of a place of warmth, where students and alumni. It is both an honor and a humbling validation to be asked to express the importance of this Alumni Association and the donations that go with it. I will tell you a lesson I've learned that is true to all of you. I know already that time is an odd fog that obscures the past, makes the future unknown, but I remember my time in North Georgia with a special clarity, like a dream that you can't forget. Monday I was 18 and I was shaking with fright as I was getting ready to report to my cadet first sergeant, Chico Porter. Mark Rose was screaming in my ear, Paul, and he's very proud of the legacy that you're building right now, I'll tell you that. Tuesday I ran up Crown Mountain carrying the Foxtrot Company guide on. Wednesday I felt that out-of-body experience as the announcement was made that I'd be the Foxtrot Company Cadet First Sergeant. Thursday night I was awakened by the unforgettable knock that was my tap at the scabbard and blade. Friday, Major Nykirk administered my oath of office. I saluted Master Sergeant Nowak and shook Colonel Mike Pyatt's hand as a proud new lieutenant. And this morning, I woke up and 7 years have disappeared, but I'm home. The Army is small. North Georgia makes it smaller. This is evident as my 1st Battalion commander was Colonel Zan Hornbuckle, who was on Objective Curly, deployed with our current PMS, who held down Objective Mo to the north on the infamous Thunder Run. Rocket the Marne. My first driver was an Echo Frog who enlisted a year after the Corps. Together we shot Top Gun in 1st Brigade, 3rd Infantry Division. My next potential first sergeant was a Delta Frog who enlisted after 2 years in the Corps. I don't know if any active duty command team has ever been both alumni of the Boar's Head Brigade, but I find that to be very special. My XO is a Citadel grad, so we tried. But he is exceptional. And I'll tell Mike, Roger, Tombo, Jennifer, James, you can bet that Colonel Jenrette would be elated that a Citadel grad is under my wing. And every time I meet a fellow North Georgia cadet, they ask 2 things. 1, what was your frog company? And 2, is Colonel Palmer still there? And sadly, this marks an end of an impressive and productive era. For the first time in 20 years, that answer will not be in the affirmative. Sir, thank you for everything. It's worth noting, I've been to 7 Frog Week graduations, and every time you talk, you say you've been the commandant for 8 years. Now, weren't you a math major? You always said you were a baseball kind of guy. 3 strikes and you're out. Sir, with me, you were a bowling kind of guy. On my 3rd strike, you called me a turkey and sent me on my way. And lastly, sir, you've always promised us if we ever got the Corps GPA above a 3.0, you would shave your head. And seeing that 3.12 evident on the card there, I think it's time for you to pony up. The North Georgia Mafia is alive, and it is well. My ties to it are special. In 2013, I was wounded by shrapnel from an RPG. I was shot in the leg, and then I was hit by another RPG on the medevac. I received literally hundreds of letters, emails, and other correspondence. I was never alone. When Colonel Thompson found out that I was in the hospital in Baltimore, he immediately cleared his busy schedule to see me. The Army Chief of Staff, senior aviation officer who worked around the clock in the Pentagon, cleared his schedule so he could come push my wheelchair and chat friend to friend. Roger Nixon was with me when I woke out of my first invasive surgery and calmed me as my mind found its way back to my body from reliving that nightmare in Afghanistan. Major Nykirk and the Commandant staff literally cut my food and fed me. Many alumni friends took time to stop by and offer encouragement and hope. And my beautiful wife, who's taking care of our son away today, graduated here with a 3.94 GPA. She was only my girlfriend at the time that I got injured. She heard the prognosis that I wouldn't be able to write or run again, and that my time in the Army was probably going to end soon. She slept in the parking lot of the hospital because they'd only tell family my room number. Our friend and former executive assistant to the Commandant staff called and asked which room I was in, saying that she was a general secretary. 5 minutes later, Maria was in that room with me, and she's been a rock ever since. This collective love is why I'm here. It's our duty to protect our legacy, to invest, whether it be financially, time, or otherwise, into these cadets. Come to a Frog Week graduation. Come share your stories with them and eat with them here in the Captain Hank Brady Dining Facility. They will listen. Now, if you listen, if we all listen now, we can hear Cadet Weston Lee laughing with his fraternity brothers downstairs. We lost him in Iraq. You can hear Cadet Chase Maddox boasting about his souped-up truck affectionately known as Sammy. Chase's end of watch came just days before his second child was born last February. You can hear Cadet Kevin Jenrette leading his aggressor dogs in those hollowed woods of Pine Valley, a brother we lost in Afghanistan. You can hear Colonel Mike Pyatt asking the only favor he ever requested to the Dean of Academics to allow Cadet Hank Brady to graduate in commission. They will always be with us. Those that pledged to give their fortunes, their lives, and their sacred honor, it is our sacred honor to serve and protect this great country. All those who put eternity on the line without hesitation. They live in the spirit of the Corps. Let's actively protect this legacy. Now, as my remarks come to a close, I ask that my dismissal from this podium be not met with applause, but a moment of silence for our fallen comrades, many of whom have their names etched on that sacred memorial to which we paid tribute yesterday, but all of whom who are in our hearts. Always searching truth and wisdom.